Hey YouTube, Abyssful Goats here, and today I'm showing off Ghiski Spright. This version of Spright uses the Ghiski cards as both level 2 extenders and to make a powerful Omni Negate and then the ritual monster. Is this the best version of Spright? Probably not, because it has some issues going second, although I've tried to stop that. But I want to show you what this deck can do, because I had a lot of fun playing it today. Also, just note there are a couple of cards here that I would be playing if I had them, so I'll explain the more optimal builds as it comes up. Let's begin with the Ghiskis. Three of the best Ghiski right now, Ghiski Grimness. What makes this card so good is that on normal or special summon, this card can summon a Ghiski from our deck. In addition to this, he can be used as the entire material for any Ghiski ritual. So if this is your normal summon, you go into Ghiski Abyss, and through that you get a Ghiski in your hand, and a potential to either Spright play or a Spright play plus ritual summon because the ritual can summon back a Ghiski from grave. So you go Ghiski, Grimness, Abyss, set up the ritual play, sack Grimness, play the ritual, get Grimness back with ritual effect, make Gigantic, and then do your full Spright plays. Speaking of which, we run two Ghiski Abyss, or as I call him, Ghiski Shockbait. Ooh-ah! Now, I only played two of this, mostly for space reasons, and because with Grimness, you're technically playing 5 copies of this card, because you're always going to find him somehow. So this can add any Ghiski to your hand. So if you've already got your ritual play set up, you can just add another Grimness for follow-up next turn. Or if not, you can add one of the two cards in the Ghiski activate the search of the spells and monsters to set up whatever part of the combo you're missing. Also it's a level 2, so again, you can just make a Gigantic or a rank 2. Yeah, and of course they're all waters, so they're all not the frogs. Speaking of that, 2 Shadow and 1 Vision. There should be 2 of each, but I don't have a second Vision at the moment. Ideally, I'd say run at least 2 each of these because Vision is a level 2, so that just give it extra Sprite energy. But essentially what these cards do is you discard them, you discard this, get Ritual Monster, discard this, get Ritual Spell, basically fixing your hand. Not much else to say about these. And for our final card, we have the Ritual of the deck, Eva Ghiski Nerimanis. I probably butchered that name. So this ritual card, it's a 3k body. It can summon it. It summons back a Ghiski on summon. So if you make it with Grimness, you can bring the Grimness back, and you've lost only 1 ritual card to make this board. That's pretty good. In addition to this, you can bounce it to your hand and then you negate a monster effect. And there are ways in fact to recycle your mirrors, so you can keep ritual summoning it for a grindier game. In addition to this card can't be destroyed in a battle with monsters from the extra deck. So this card can beat over a lot of things. It's very hard to remove. Rounding off next to our Ghiski engine, we have Focused Aqua Mirror. Now this card, after having received support for about a decade, this is probably one of the best pieces of support, along with, sorry, his name's going my head again, with Grimness. You can activate this and you can add any Ghiski card from your deck to your hand. So any Ghiski monster. So it means you can get the rituals, you can get Grimness, set your combos, but that's not all. If you've got a ritual in play, you can set an Aqua Mirror, like for example, Aqua Mirror Cycle. So this card gives you not only your board, but also a follow-up play, because Aqua Mirror Cycle lets you lets you trade in one of your waters on the field for 2 of them from your graveyard. So again, great recovery play. And for the mirrors, we have 1 Ghiski Necro Mirror and 1 Aqua Mirror. Aqua Mirror is the standard ritual card, and it can also recycle Ghiski rituals by banishing stuff from the grave. Whereas Ghiski Necro Mirror is also a ritual mirror, and you can also use one of your opponent's monsters for the full ritual summon. So it's basically a super poly for rituals. Next we have the Spright package, 3 blue. This is still the best extender in Sprites, because it can get us to our Jet or to one of our negates. So I just play 3 of it, and we have 2 Jets. This is again for space reasons. You could cut one of these other 3 I'm going to show you now to get through this, but basically the combo still goes either Jet into starter, into blue, into combo, or blue, jet, starter, or smashes, and go from there. And for the rest of the sprite names, we have 1 carrot, 1 red, and 1 pixies. I'll be honest with you here, I think if I did this again, I'd replace the carrot with a 3rd jet, as it didn't come up as much as I thought it would. But these are names, these two are negates. This can negate a monster, this can negate a spell. And this is one of the best in the deck, because it's honest. You sacrifice it, and you give your sprite monsters buffs equal to the attack and defense of the monster it's attacking. So this can allow sprites to beat other decks with big monsters, like dinos, for example, or Despia decks. Again, in the future, I probably wouldn't run the carrot main, because it didn't come as much as I thought it would. But this is still a pretty good engine. And of course, we have the 3 starters and the 1 smashers. Now I'm playing, now the starters are obvious. They're literally the best starter in the deck. You just play this. You get both blue and Jet's effects. And then, but smashers is great removal, going second or first. You basically bash level 2 from your grave. So you bash a sprite from your grave or field, then bash level 2, and you can take one of your opponent's cards. Non-targeting banishing, so you get to run a lot of effects. I will say, if you're going for a grind, this card can be a bit problematic because you're losing 2 resources for it. But oftentimes with recyclability and power of this deck, you don't need to worry about that too much. Next, for the next engine, 3 frogs. I decided to cut the dupe frog. I was playing other frog builds because I didn't really need it that much. These usually are just extenders. You play the Eastern and Ghiski, push them on this, so you can do all your sprite combos. But occasionally, if one of these is on the board, you can go gigantic, get a second swap, overlay into Toad. Again, this engine's not as good as it used to be since it's just rolling Toad and got the chop. But it's still a fairly decent engine that I still think is good to play. And finally, in my sprite decks, we're doing the nimble thing. Thank you for the reprint. 1 angler, 3 beaver. Because Grimness can get its effect off of being normal or special summoned, you can summon the beaver, get its effects off, and still do your full Ghiski plays, or vice versa. You can go to Ghiski plays. You can go to Sprite Sprint, dump this, get 2 beavers, and that's a free gigantic sprite. This engine's super good, and I'm glad I finally got it in this deck. Next, 5 of the hand traps, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Nibiru, and I guess finished off, we've got the Call by the Grave. So Nibiru is obvious. It's great against the best deck in the format, Kashtira, which is sprite catchable outing. I chose Ash as the hand trap because I think it's the best generic hand trap in a meta like mine where people playing a lot of different kind of decks. You could play instead of this Veiler, Droll, or if your meta's more Kashtira heavy, you could opt for something like Lava Golem in the main. So yeah, that's the Ghiski Spright main deck. Let's go over to the extra deck. We have Sprint. I borrowed my copy from a friend today. But basically it's a foolish barrier. You use it to dump Angler to carry on your combos. And complementing that, we have 2 Gigantics. It's a extender that locks out things like your opponent's Nibirus, which again, because it's seeing more play because of Kashtira, this can actually be a lot more powerful than it was last format. One thing I will say though, its ability to gain double its points if you put a link underneath it is much more difficult to do in this deck now that Sprite Elf is banned. So you're mostly using this one extender and then follow up into a Zeus play. Next up, for the link 2s, IP and Cerberus. You could also play Unicorn Phoenix if you want, if you're playing more backward or heavy meta. But these 2 I found to be the best. IP, I've told this before, it's a quick play quick speed spin with Unicorn, or it's a quick play basically towers with Avamax. And Cerberus is a way to pop problematic monsters in the field. Also keep in mind, it's where you can dump Angler if you need to. Speaking of nightmares, we got Unicorn. Again, we're usually making this off of IP Masquerena with a body that we could put on board with like the Sprites or the Nimble engine. Then we got the Link 4s, Avamax and Broadsword. Again, this should be access code. I've said before, I don't have one. But Broadsword is an OTK enabler. It can push through tons of damage very easily. But this guy is insane. I'm glad this guy finally got a reprint. I could get one of them. If you make this with IP, you've essentially got yourself a 30k towers that upon being removed from the field can spin a card, which is really powerful. And then for our link 2, which we got Soul Sweeper. This card essentially lets you far for an opponent's monster, but also because it can be made with a link with 2 or more level 2s, if you've got a bunch of monsters on the field, you can essentially build him up to make him a massive Zeus. We got Cat Shark, and Sky Cavalry for some other rank 2s. You should, by the way, I don't currently have a Djinn Buster or a Herald. I would actually recommend playing those over this engine I got in the deck. Although this is still powerful negate, I would say it's not ideal, and Djinn Buster would be better. So anyway, Cat Shark, it's going second. This card can double the points of a monster, so if you can make a gigantic sprite with a link underneath it, you can use this in sprint and do nearly lethal damage. And Sky Cavalry Centaur, it's good removal and it's good Zeus setup. And finally, we have one Toad, which doesn't go up as much as you think it would, because you can only make this if you can get 2 frogs on the field. So it's not as easy to go into anymore, but it's still a negate that can that can refill your hand and recycle itself. Let's still play it. And our final 2 are Damage and Zeus. I mean, what's to say about this? Making a 4 to 5 material Zeus is insane at any time. And in this deck, it's super easy to do with a gigantic sprite, with this guy, and even if you only make one Wobber with this, it's still pretty powerful. That's the extra. Let's go to the side. There should be 3 lava golems. I couldn't find my third one in time, so yeah, 3 lava golems it should be, and we're going to complement that with 3 evenly matched. Again, this is for Kashtira mostly, or any of the big board decks. Evenly matched is, I'm so glad this got this good as reprint in the Traptrix deck. It's really good. And a golem, right now it's the best kaiju monster in the game because it can take out any 2 monsters, so it can take out both Shangiras and unlock your zones if you get Kashtira. Next we have Harpies for back row decks. I think if I play this deck again, I would probably also put in maybe some Cosmic Cyclones or something, because I went up against Runic in one round, and that field spell is insane. Next, for more hand traps, 3 Veilers. Again, this could be Drolls. You could do a Ciphering package. Again, you could play my back row hate. I just like this because it's a good answer to a lot of starters in the format right now. Then we got 2 Droplets. This is a great going second card. Because you're in this deck, you go through so few resources, you're going to likely have a 4 or 5 card hand after you've done most of your combo. So getting rid of a couple of them to guarantee a board break is pretty good. And finally, D-Barrier. This shuts down things like Cyber Dragons. It's decent in a Sprite Mirror because you can go XCs, shuts something like gigantic, and really slows down their plays. Branded is obviously amazing against, and yeah, it's not a game killer against something like Mathmech, for example, because they can just go to their synchros if you need XCs or vice versa. Also, against Kashtira, it's good because they can't go into their XCs, but the Kashtira normal summon, the Kashtira main deck monsters are still really powerful by themselves. So it's not really, it doesn't really give you a free win against that deck, but it's still pretty powerful. So yeah, overall, this deck isn't perfect. It does need a few extra cards to finish it off. This is definitely the most fun, and in my opinion, probably the best way to play Sprite right now, because I think it performs the best without an elf. So let's do a quick couple of test hands to show you guys what this deck can do. So I think I could shuffle it after that. Okay, let's see what we can do. Sword frog, beaver, starter, sword frog. Okay, this is pretty good. So, like myself, we're going to assume that the opponent didn't open any hand traps, just so I can give you an idea what we can really do with this deck. So we're going to start with a normal beaver. Beaver's going to summon so we're going to give her a second beaver. Now from here, what we could do is you can go into Sprint, send the angler. I think, hang on. Because angler says up to 2, so what you can do is you can go these, Sprint, send angler, get another beaver, and then you've got another extender on board. And again, we're going for the maximum, so I think that's what we're going to do. Make the Sprint. Sprint's going to dump an angler, get a beaver. Then we're going to go swap the swap. And now from here we got some options. I think from here we're going to go starter, get blue. Again, let's play it safe here. So no, let's. So we're going to go starter actually, get blue. Blue, we're going to grab us a jet. And then we're going to go these two into the gigantic. And we're going to detach the nimble. Grab us the third swap out of our deck. I'm going to overlay these into a frog. Then we're going to push on jet. And jet's going to grab us a smashes. Then we're going to link these two off into an IP masquerader. Again, if you were playing the Gym Buster, you could also go on Gym Buster for an extra negate if you wanted to. Set these two, and now in our opponent's turn, we have access to a Unicorn or an Abermax, which is basically a Towers. We've got a negate with Totally Awesome. We've got this to go for blue. And then with this blue, we can add either a Pixies or a Jet. I think we'll go with Jet because it's a good follow-up. So now we have a Towers and a Gate and a Banish with Sprite Smashes. Along with a Jet follow-up for next turn, and we're going to draw a Sprite Red for some more interaction. So yeah, that's kind of what the deck can do going first. And that's what this deck can do. Before we go though, I want to show you what happens if you open Grimness, and we'll do a ritual monster, but it can also be a ritual spell for this to work. So if you get this, what you can do is you summon Grimness, get Abyss. You go Abyss, grab, in this case we want Shadow, you put Shadow, get the mirror, wrong mirror. Then from here we go Aqua Mirror on the Grimness, make this, We use this card's effect to bring back the Grimness. We go into the Gigantic. Gigantic, get blue. And from here we can do our usual Sprite combos with an added negate. And we still have 3 cards in hand. So yeah, that's Ghiski Spright for you. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon for some scripted content. We've got some good stuff in the works. I'll see you guys in the next video.